Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 5th Board of Selectmen meeting at the town of Wareham. May I have a roll call, please?
Yes, all 5 selectmen present, as well as town council and the town administrator.
Excellent. I'm going to ask the town administrator to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh,
He's on mute.
Derek.
Face is frozen.
Okay, he's a no-show then right now. All right, Richard Bowen, Mr. Bowen, please.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to
Allegiance to the flag
the flag of the
of the
United States
United States
of
of
America,
America,
and to the republic
republic
for which it
for which it
stands,
stands, one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
oh,
with liberty
and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you. Okay. Announcements, Mr. Muniz.
Let me see. I'm going to pass on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin.
Just a couple. The Veterans Council is finally going to meet. They'll be at the VFW at 4 p.m. on the 11th. They haven't met in a while because of COVID. The other thing going on is the Buzzards Bay Coalition, the bathhouse. The actual dedication, which has been coming for a long time, will be this Friday at 4 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Nothing.
Thank you. Patrick?
there's nothing here.
Okay, thank you. I have a couple. Just want to remind you all that the Red Sox are playing in a exciting game tonight. So those of us who like to watch baseball, keep that in mind. Want to remind you that the library has new hours, which they've been advertising. They also are now collecting for the jewelry and scarf and pocketbook sale that they have. Please bring those items directly to the desk. I'm pleased to announce that the South Coast Hospital Group finally has completed the transaction of selling the land under the Kendrick House to the Historical Society. And that's been something that's been in the works for like, I don't know, 2 years or something, because that's very exciting. Want to remind you to shop locally. There are going to be a lot of churches that have fairs. We have a lot of local restaurants and businesses that would love to have your business. Monday is a holiday, and so the agenda for next week is going to be posted tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So gentlemen, if you have anything that you would like to see on it, please let me know. And I think that's it for right now. Citizens' comments. I don't see. Oops. And then we're going to be coming to you later on in the meeting, if that's your question. That's the item will be brought up later on in the meeting. I can have you address us now, but it's on the agenda for later on. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. All right, seeing nobody else, I will go to board comments. James?
I'm good.
Thank you. Raven?
Okay, just as a heads up for Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, Human Resources, Finance Director, Town Administrator, etc. The Massachusetts Municipal Annual Convention, which has kind of been on hiatus more or less for the last 2 years, will be on the 22nd of January of 2022 and will be in person as of right now. Over the 2-day period, they'll be offering about 18 different training courses to keep selectmen, finance committee members, etc., up to date with new rules, changes, different ways of doing things, etc. It's one of those things that works really well, especially for someone like Dave Menard, municipal maintenance, gets a chance to probably look and talk to maybe 25 to 30 companies that offer services, particularly for municipal maintenance as well. As we know, the NIP ban was approved last week officially. I have contacted the Serpent communities, which are 27, about that we had got this through and been approved. And I've already got requests from some of the communities to go ahead and get copies of what we did for them to do it on their own communities, which I said would happen. Mass Municipal Association has also asked for copies, and they will be sending those out to 351 municipalities in the state of Massachusetts, which covers everybody. I'm trying to see what else we got. The other thing that I'm sure we're all getting hit with is I'm getting, and I mentioned last week, assistance, actually asking for assistance or help with different issues, whether it's commercial or actual individuals. And this has been probably, in the last 2 weeks in particular, I would say I've had more requests on these issues than I've had in the last 6 months. So it looks as if our residents are looking for help from us for a lot of different things. Obviously, things are not working well or things are working difficult, and we need to be able to provide the information for them. That's about it.
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum?
I don't have anything.
Thank you. Mr. Tropiano?
I'm all set, thank you.
And myself, I'm all set as well. Then we will go to appointments and reappointments.
Okay, we have one, Richard Semple. I think he's out there.
Richard, would you let Richard Semple in, please? To the meeting. Oh, there he is. Excellent. You're muted. May I have a motion?
Yeah, I move that we appoint Richard Semple to a full-time member on the Zoning Board of Appeals to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2026.
Thank you. And can you read into the record the
Second.
vote that was taken by the Zoning Board of Appeals for this?
Yeah.
meeting?
Hold on, I got it right here.
Thank you.
I believe it was 2-1-1, and I got the message right from the board right here in my hands from their person, Maria.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of, may I have a second to the motion?
I second it.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Mr. Semple? He spoke with us last week, if you recall.
Yeah, we already interviewed him, so I don't have any direct questions. I would like to apologize both to him and Mr. Conti, though. It's been kind of a convoluted process. We had a board that apparently was initially reluctant to make a recommendation, which I think, kind of put a little bit of a damper on things and, led to some back and forth that maybe wasn't necessary. And in that regard, we've had a lot of discussion lately about what members need to do to be appointed, what they have to do once they're appointed and so on and so forth. But I think in examining all of that, we need to look at our own practices and to formalize some of the things, we talk about in terms of committee recommendations and not putting people on for appointment until we have the recommendation in hand.
Thank you. We actually did have the recommendation in hand. We just didn't have it in the packet, but thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to
Yes, Mr. Muniz.
just address this in general. I went back and reviewed the meeting of the ZBA Zoning Board of Appeals vote. And 4 people voted. There was no majority. I think both are acceptable candidates and would do a good job and would do a good job. I'm looking at the balance of the board and the composition as how it's made up, not who, but how. And we have a contractor, developer, master electrician, a real estate agent, broker, real estate manager. And this appointment will be an additional contractor, contracted licensed person in Wareham. My goal is to have a little more breadth on the board and representation. Again, I as they know and that don't always speak, but I'll watch the meetings and attend them, and both of them are acceptable. I think Mr. Conti did take a little initiative and do a program, but however the board votes, they vote.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin, do you choose to comment?
My only comment is, I believe Mr. Conti then would have to come up for appointment as an associate again.
That's correct.
So that's not there, as now that will be coming.
I'm sorry.
That will be coming on
I
our
have-
agenda.
I haven't gotten a recommendation from the ZBA, but when I get a recommendation for the associate, I will put it on the agenda.
Okay, do we need to ask them for that? They may think we're all done.
I'll send an email tonight after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Titlebaum?
There's actually 2 associates on that board, I believe.
I believe
Yeah,
so.
there is.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
now, though.
Oh,
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to appoint with a second. I'm going to do a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes,
Titlebaum,
yes.
Muniz,
Present.
Tropiano,
Yes,
and Whiteside, yes. So you are appointed, Mr. Semple. Your paperwork is in the Board of Selectmen's office on the 3rd floor, and I believe it's actually ready for you tomorrow, if you would care to pick it up and get sworn in.
Very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for stepping up.
what time is it?
I would just like to say one thing though. I did go ahead and get one of those extra education certificates, and it was passed into the selectman's office on Thursday. So from Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, I stepped up, and I'm trying to get into the Chapter 40B housing, but I'm having very difficult time to register for it. But I am going to take that, and I am going to further my education.
Thank you very much.
thank you.
And the documentation actually should go to the clerk's office, but we'll get it to the clerk's office. Thank you very much.
We'll get it there. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. We have a hearing
we need
at
2 more minutes.
7:15. So,
Beano license, something like that?
what? Those
One of
two,
you- Beano license?
yeah, the Beano. There's an application from Dudley Brown VFW Post for a Beano license. We don't have any fee for a Beano license because they are a veterans organization. Do we want to charge them a fee? That's the first item on the agenda.
Does it require any regulation by the town, any inspections, any of that kind of stuff? Or is it just we give them a license and they go Beano?
We have to approve, they are approved by the state. And then we have to, as the local licensing authority, also approve.
But where this is a business, well, not a business really, it's an organization that's already subject to liquor service and
That's
inspections by the, by the Board of Health occasionally, food service, that kind of thing. The building commissioner. I think we can waive a fee. I don't think we need to profit off of this organization.
Okay, great.
They-
So I'm gonna, yes,
Before you go, you can't serve liquor during a Beano game. It's against state law.
right, and that
Yeah.
was in the package. So when we actually get to go to the application, but can we just knock off the fee for a Beano license? May I have a motion to not establish a fee?
So moved.
Second,
Second,
motion made and seconded, motion seconded by Slavin. All those in favor, Mr. Slavin?
before we vote, I actually got a request from nonprofit, such as, the VFW, about whether the town, and we can bring this up in the agenda later, whether or not we will consider waiving fees for like VFW, American Legion, et cetera. So if you can make a note to put that up later on.
I'll
And
put
I
it
vote
on another
yes.
agenda. Thank you.
Yes, and I'll vote yes.
Okay, yes, Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz, to
Yeah.
not establish a fee.
I think he won't.
Hold on 1 second, just, I wanted to speak to this. Usually do it after we second it, but, so Beano, that's under the Mass State Lottery,
Yes, sir.
like Keno?
Yes, it's bingo. And I gave you copies of the,
I read the whole packet.
yeah, okay.
So do we charge any facility that has Keno or Beano, anything?
We charge places
for
that have,
entertainment? I mean, I haven't seen them. I don't know.
we charge places that have entertainment, and it may include the lottery sales, but I'm not sure of anybody I'm not aware of anybody who does Beano, other than maybe churches that, I don't know. I don't know.
The only one I know is the Elks. We don't
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah, so I was not familiar with charging any establishment in town for any of those video. It's a video game, right? You bet on it. They put their
No.
their
No, it's
slip in.
bingo.
It's bingo.
It's bingo. It's
Oh,
called
bingo.
Beano, but it's bingo.
Oh, bingo. Okay, so it's just like at the Elks Club or the churches or whatever they do.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Oh,
Okay, I'm calling for the vote. I have 2 yeses.
okay,
No.
thank you.
I want to just,
Mr. Muniz, do you
No,
want to? Okay,
oh,
so
to
you
waive
would
the
vote
fee, sure. I'm good.
to
Whatever you
not
want
have
to
a
do.
fee. Mr. Tropiano, yes.
okay, so Beano, I just want to know where everybody where that comes from. Once upon a time, they had these bingo games and they kind of outlawed them, or if you remember correctly, because they were becoming problems. Came up with a new name and they called it Beano, and they started holding Beanos instead of bingos. Do you remember that? And that's why we got Beano. So I think nowadays, I think you can still call it bingo and still go get away with it, but it's okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, with regard to
Guys, come on. May I have a vote, Mr. Tropiano? The
Yes.
vote is to not
Yes.
have a fee.
Yes.
And I vote yes to not have a fee. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the discussion and possible vote to approve the application for Dudley Brown for the Beano license. And we had Ben Baptiste in. If he would like to speak to us, that's fine. He does know that you are not allowed to serve liquor in the same establishment that you are playing Beano or bingo.
So I move that we approve the application.
second.
Okay, let's see if Ben would like to speak to us. I have a motion and a second to approve.
No, not much to say. Just appreciate you guys taking this on today. We're very well aware. We've been talking to the state regarding bingo and the regulations, and we do understand no alcohol in the same room.
Thank
So
you.
we won't have any of that stuff going on. There's actually the way the layout of our building is you can lock access to our lower bunker and the upstairs during bingo activity. So
Okay, thank you. I just would point out to you, sir, that your application to the state is not complete. You did not fill in the date of incorporation and all the other stuff on the right-hand side of the application. So would you just make sure that you take care of that?
understood.
Thank you. Roll call vote to approve. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yes,
Tropiano,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. We now have a 7:15 hearing, and we
I
are
move-
going to have the attendees would be Casa Cancun, Andrew Upton, and I think that's it. Andrew Upton, I believe, is the attorney, and Casa Cancun. Okay.
I move we open the hearing for an application for a transfer of an existing year-round common vicular alcoholic beverage from Nachos Inc., DBA Casa Cancun, to Sal Y. Limon LLC.
Sally Limon.
Ellie Lemon, is that Ellie Lemon?
Sal E. Limon.
Yeah, well, okay. LLC, DBA Casa Cancun, 2421 Cranberry Highway, Suite 426, Mass.
May I have a second to the motion to?
Second.
Okay. Motion made to open the hearing. I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
yes,
Mr. Tropiano. I didn't hear you, but I'm presuming, yeah, okay. And myself, yes. The hearing is open. Mr. Upton, I believe you are here on behalf of the applicants. Is that correct?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Andrew Upton, representing the applicant. And also with us is Christian Alvarez Pena. He is in the box labeled Casa Cancun with kind of a mood lighting behind him. He is the proposed owner and manager of record. So
Thank you.
if he's able to speak, we'd appreciate that as well.
Would you care to address the board, either one of you?
Yes, I'm glad to start. Thank you again, everyone. We're applying to transfer the liquor license to Sally Limon. It's a new company owned and operated by Christian Alvarez Pena. He'll operate the same restaurant at the same location. Well, this transfer is to a new company. It is not to a new chef or someone new to the restaurant. Christian and his family were employees of the current owner and have worked at Casa Cancun for about 3 years. Christian now has the opportunity to take over the lease, and the old owners are anxious to move on. Christian has been supervising the sale and service of alcohol for a couple of years, and there have been no incidents. He's committed to maintaining a safe, compliant, family-friendly restaurant. He knows that his name will be on the license. He has taken alcohol service training, and he looks forward to continuing to offer beer, wine, and cocktails as an amenity to the Mexican food dining experience. He's a U.S. citizen with no criminal record. So the good news is that there'll be no changes to the licensed premises. The name, the menu, the floor plan, the hours, every aspect of the operation will remain the same. Christian will be the new manager of record, and he will also be the owner. I can also tell you that I spoke to the landlord this morning. They're very happy to have signed a new lease with Christian. They vetted his qualifications, both operational and financial, and they're excited about the energy and focus he can bring to the restaurant. Casa Cancun is coming back from COVID, and Christian looks forward to working with you in the town to keep up this momentum. And now, if it pleases the board, I'd like to have him just say a couple of words.
That's fine, Mr. Upton. Mr. Pena?
Hi, guys. How you doing tonight? I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. I've been working here for 3 years, and Antonio and Mary Sol, which were the past owners, they're happy to move on. I negotiated an extended lease with the landlord. Now I will be working here full time, and my wife also. I'm looking forward to taking over and build a business and reputation in Wareham.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Slavin, do you have any questions of the applicants?
No, not at all. It's a very nice restaurant. The food's always been great.
Thank you,
Thanks
Mr.
so much.
Titlebaum. Mr. Titlebaum, do you have any
No
questions?
questions.
Mr. Muniz, do you have any questions, sir?
Of the applicant, no.
Thank you. Mr. Tropiano, any questions?
I have nothing. I just looked over the paperwork a little closer to make sure that the agreement was there and so on, and it's all there, so it looks okay.
Okay, the only thing that we are missing is the
Insurance.
insurance naming Soli Limon. We have it in the old name, but we can make it subject to receipt of the insurance.
Yeah,
And I have no questions.
Madam Chair, I believe the insurance company told, it's sort of a chicken and egg thing. They won't give us the insurance until we get the license transferred.
Right, that's what I understood.
So if you can make perhaps the issuance of the license at the other end contingent.
Yes,
we
that's
get by
that's what we would do.
That sounds great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other?
Yeah,
Mr. Muniz?
just on the insurance certificate of liability insurance you sent us today. Do they need to check off the workers' compensation and employment liability box or no? And you know, it's just you don't. Okay, and then there was, let me bring this up here if I can. Your Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Department Unemployment was issued on August 24th, and it's good for 30 days from that point out. It's just a, you know, it's like a week and a half out, 10 days or whatever. So beyond the 30. So I don't know if that's a big deal or not.
Mr. Upton, would you make sure that you take care of making sure that all of the documentation is dated within the requisite period of time, sir?
I will. I believe the ABCC takes the position that as long as the DUA is current at the time of the application, that the 30 days has not run. And sometimes when it gets to them, if it's been too long, they'll make us get another one,
Okay,
which we would be glad to do.
okay, great, thank you. Are there any other questions for the applicant or his attorney? I'll accept a motion to close the hearing.
Move, we approve the transfer.
How about close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing.
Is there a second? Motion made to close the hearing and seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Mr. Slavin, yes?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Muniz, close the hearing.
Yes.
Propiano?
Yes.
Myself, yes, the hearing is now closed. I will now accept a motion.
All right, move we approve the transfer and that we hold it until we get all the appropriate paperwork.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the license and not to hand it out until the
Get the
the
certificate.
insurance question has been taken care of, and we understand that that's a chicken and egg one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I need a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yes.
Tropiano,
Yes.
myself, yes, it is unanimous, 500. Thank you very much, and thank you for choosing to do business in Wareham and stay in Wareham. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate it.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is a discussion and possible vote regarding the new proposed GATRA routes. And I did send you all earlier today a memo from Jamie Rebin Buckminster with her comments about it. Have you all had an opportunity to read those comments?
No, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either.
Didn't see it.
All right, I can read it into the record if you'd like.
Sure.
Please.
Okay. This is addressed to myself and Mr. Sullivan. I'm writing to provide information regarding the potential impact of GATRA's proposed elimination of bus service to the Shangri-La White Island Shores neighborhood in East Wareham. Based on the most recent American Community Survey data available, nearly 73% of the households in the White Island Shores census designated place are considered to be low or moderate income. A high percentage of low and moderate income households has been the trend historically as the neighborhood has evolved from a summer community to a year-round community. The Link 3 route runs from Shangri-La to Cranberry Plaza on weekdays from 11:10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. According to GATRA's 2020 Comprehensive Regional Transit Plan, the route should be eliminated due to, quote, very low ridership, less than 3 people daily, unquote. Though respondents to a survey referenced in the plan indicated that they would benefit from those buses running more frequently. The plan also indicates that the Shangri-La route is among the least expensive to run, costing only $3.28 per revenue mile. While bus service to Shangri-La White Island Shores may not be the most efficient to run, eliminating it would create a food and transportation desert for the neighborhood's most vulnerable residents. Those without a vehicle would only reasonably be able to access the 7-Eleven convenience store on Barker Road, assuming that they are able to make the trek, which is upwards of a mile from some areas of the neighborhood. Food, toiletries, and other necessities are typically priced more expensively at convenience stores compared to larger retailers such as Stop and Shop and Dollar Tree, both located on the bus route in Cranberry Plaza. Considering the percentage of low and moderate income households, it is reasonable to surmise that many in the neighborhood receive SNAP benefits, commonly referred to as food stamps. Providing access to larger retailers for residents in need allows them to stretch their limited household budgets and benefits further. Grocery delivery services are not a viable long-term option for these households. From a safety perspective, the neighborhood lacks proper sidewalks throughout. Pedestrian crossing at Plymouth Avenue in the area of Glen Charlie Road is dangerous. Despite posted speed limits, many vehicles drive too fast. Thank you for your time. That will be entered into the record. And I'm pretty sure I did send it to you. May have been like 4 o'clock or something, but yes, I did send it to you. Mr. Slavin, do you choose to comment?
I'm actually the GATRA representative for the town too, GATRA itself.
Right.
We've gone over the different routes and stuff. What's happened, just for basic information, is most transportation companies have incurred a severe change in ridership. And whether they actually were giving rides free for a while just to try and get people back, but the ridership level, they don't believe is ever going to come back to where it was before COVID. Things have changed all around, and that's why we're seeing many of the different transportation organizations cutting back to those routes which actually can pay for themselves or subsidize them at a lower level. And that's why this came about. This particular setup for us, they want to move the actual, we call the center of the hub, over to, I think it's Merchants Way by the train station, and all basic routes, flow from that area and go out in different directions. There'll be a new route, which will eliminate the Lakeville station when basically our South Coast Rail actually starts in a year and a half to 2 years, and it will go up to the new Middleborough station, which is eliminating Lakeville as the joint. But at the same time, we have to realize that sometimes you have to take a loss somewhere along the line to provide some kind of transportation. If people there, not only that, if people live there and they have to go for medical services and stuff, we have that New Bedford, bus that we fought to get from Wareham to New Bedford, which would give these people a way to join that one and take that as well. I'm not real happy about the idea of eliminating this particular piece, even though it is going to lose money for them. And I'll leave it at that. And I made that comment too during the hearings.
Mr. Titlebaum, do you choose to comment?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why we're seeing Washington, throwing billions and trillions of dollars around, like drunken sailors. Why programs like this wouldn't be funded and kept open. I just don't get that. And certainly I think before they go ahead and cut any routes, they should see what their federal subsidies are going to look like. I don't think now's the time to do it. This is a very isolated neighborhood in some ways. I mean, it's along what you would consider to be a major road, but as noted, you're a good, 2.5 miles away from Cranberry Plaza. That's a long way to walk. It's a long way for a mother with a kid to walk and go get groceries and walk back with a kid, or anybody for that matter. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm up to date on their ridership numbers. I would be very interested to hear what they were pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic. And given that a lot of people, for good reason, I would say, chose to not work and take what the government was giving out during the pandemic, because frankly, it made more sense economically for them to do that. We haven't seen the return to the workforce of people. So I would say that it's too early for GATRA to draw any conclusions about what the pandemic impacts are. So I would very much support telling GATRA that we don't like this idea and asking them to keep this going until they have further data at the very minimum before they make such a decision, and to at least keep this route going for 6 months and see what happens as we try to return to normalcy and see what the new normal looks like. I think it's premature, and I think it harms a remote neighborhood.
Thank you, Mr. Copiano.
Yeah, you kind of caught it. I don't want to be redundant, but just listening to the way Alan presented it, they seem to think that their ridership isn't going to come back after COVID, as COVID kind of, finally, hopefully wanes and everybody gets their shots, hopefully, and it starts to wane. And we finally get through this. And I'm not so sure that that's the case. I know that a lot of people are figuring that right now. Not just there, but theaters and everybody else are figuring there's going to be a reduction in numbers and so on and so forth. But nobody knows that for sure. And I think we need a little more time before we can figure that out. It's kind of hard to say now. I mean, you're going to know if there's a reduction, very shortly. I mean, once you get into it a little bit. And I think you should wait for that, especially those people in Shangri-La. They have difficulties. That's a difficult area, and they have a very difficult place. They're almost like not in town. You know what I mean? they're so far out there. You know, it's just so far up that, and there's a lot of people up there that are, you know, in the lower income levels that, you know, really need the help. And it seems to me that they should wait, and I'd like to see them wait as well.
Thank you, Mr. Tropiano. Mr. Muniz?
I agree in the sense that, I don't know if the route should be cut. Does anybody know where the pickup point is all the way up in Shangri-La? Does it go through the neighborhood or does it just stop at the 7-Eleven there?
7-Eleven.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yeah.
So that's a pretty good haul for everybody that lives up through there. And there's a lot of homes. I don't know. I know they drive down to Swift's Beach and do a little loop. I don't know if that would help increase ridership or not, or make it more convenient for people to want to use it. And then I was looking at it too, and I know we'll have, and they're doing some groundwork over to ahead of the Bay Road, and it doesn't really sweep through that neighborhood at all and then cut back up to 28. So I'm not in favor of cutting the route. I'd like to look at it. I'd like to be able to talk to the GATRA about this and have them come talk to us and have input. I wasn't able to make the public meeting. So I would say I'm not in favor of cutting it.
Thank you. Not in favor either. Mr. Slavin, would it be possible to have a representative other than yourself, unless you want to do it, explain and
No, I think we can get someone to come and talk to us.
okay,
Just so everybody understands, the monies that the GATRA gets comes through the federal government, but through the state. They already have their budgets for the coming year. You know, so when they go out, they have to put a list of what they need, what they want. And that money gets basically put in place already because it goes through the Serpent agency, and we actually provide the funding itself for them as well. So I get a double shot at it. But I don't see why we can't get the new director, Frank K., who is from Wareham, is no longer the director of GATRA. He's retired. So if you want to do that, just let me know and I can make arrangements.
okay. So who would be the person who would be?
I don't have in front of me the new director's name because I'm having a senior moment right now, but I can take care of it.
Okay. Then what I would like, I think, to have you do is to authorize Mr. Slavin to make a contact with the appropriate person at GATRA so that GATRA could come and make a presentation, giving some of the pre-COVID numbers as well as addressing some of the other questions that you gentlemen have asked this evening.
So
I
moved.
think it would be best if the chair actually writes the letter to GATRA, and I will just contact GATRA, let them know it's coming.
Okay. All right. So that was your motion, Patrick?
Yes.
To authorize me to write a letter to GATRA saying that we would like to have a presentation?
Didn't I?
Yeah, you did. And you seconded it. Okay. Motion made and seconded to have me write a letter. Mr. Slavin, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Titlebaum.
Yes.
Muniz.
Yes.
Tropiano.
Yes.
And myself. Yes. Thank you very much. And now we are on to E, discussion and vote to recommend articles for the 2021 annual Fall Town Meeting warrant.
You've got a hiring ratification ahead of that?
No,
No?
nope, that was taken off.
Okay.
So we have Mr. Sullivan, who's going to be presenting 2, 3, 4, and 6. Is that correct, Mr. Sullivan?
See if I can share something from the screen.
Thank you.
I've got too many things up. Yeah, we won't worry about sharing right now. So if you go through it, the Article 2 is the transfer of free cash. You'll see that there's Plymouth County OPEB Trust Fund, Plymouth County Retirement Stabilization Fund, Collective Bargaining Reserve, Unemployment Reserve, and town departments listed. So we expect, we submitted for free cash. We would expect somewhere in the $4 to $4.5 million range for certified free cash. So my recommendation would be $300,000 to the Plymouth County OPEB Trust Fund, which is other post-employment benefits. That's something we've been doing annually. The amount that we currently have in the OPEB Trust Fund is $2,124,000, $124,840.38. That was as of mid-year roughly. And what's good about this, besides reducing our OPEB liability, the 5-year returns on this have been 12.87%, and the 1 year was 30%. So we actually had gained as of the last, I think I removed it, but last year we had gained over $400,000 on roughly $1.7 million in principal. So it's been fairly good for us.
Very nice.
Nice. So is your recommendation the 300 to the OPEB?
Yep, I'm going to go down the whole list. It's
okay. Yep, go ahead.
$900,000, and I'll go by item.
Yeah.
The next would be $150,000 to Plymouth County Retirement. This one, we're looking to fully fund Plymouth County Retirement in 2029. Also, by putting $150,000, starting to put some funds to it, we will get, instead of being assessed a portion of all of Plymouth County, we will be assessed, there'll be an actuarial valuation done specifically for us. And I'd like to, over the next few years, to actually get that fund paid off. We could see increases in the 6 to 10% range. So by doing this, we'll help offset some of those future increases, which will help our annual operating budget. 150,000 is it's a small amount, but if you look at it over the next 7 years, that's putting almost an extra $1 million. So it will help soften some of those bumps.
Great.
The next is $150,000 to the Stabilization Fund. We're at $4,329,538 in the Stabilization Fund, which is over 5% of our operating budget. But with $4.5 million in certified free cash, around that range, I still think we can put $150,000 without taking too much away and keep moving that forward. Why is that a good thing? Besides, we've talked about our bond rating and other such things. But last year, when we thought that the revenue would be reduced drastically for the town from the Commonwealth due to COVID-19, we took $600,000 from the Stabilization Fund, although to manage our budget. Although we put that back in, plus some with the free cash last year, it shows that who knows what will happen. So it's good to keep that going, and it's really only a 0.2% increase really to the Stabilization Fund versus our annual operating budget. The next item is the collective bargaining reserve. On June 30th of next year, if you will, the end of this fiscal year, we will have 10 of our collective bargaining agreements expiring. So this is what we did when the last round. It gives us a nice base to have, just in case for any of the collective bargaining we need to do, and allows us to concentrate on our budget as well. So I'd say $200,000 for 10 units. That's every single unit except for, I believe it's the sergeants and lieutenants. And then the last one is unemployment reserve. If you remember, last year we removed unemployment from the annual operating budget, and we talked about putting from free cash every year amount of money into the unemployment reserve, and that's what we pay out of for any of our unemployment from the town or the school. And I believe this will keep us right in the $300,000 range. So unless there's some drastic change, that should keep us running, and we'll continue to put in at least that amount every year. So again, it's a total of $900,000. which if we're at the $4.5 million mark would leave us the 3.6 million.
Okay, I move we recommend the article.
As presented. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Titlebaum. Roll call vote, Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Muniz,
Just a quick question here. I didn't want to interrupt you in your presentation.
Thank
you. So you said 0.2% of the annual budget. We're putting 0.2% into stabilization over what we need to, or is it 0.2% of our annual budget?
The 150 works out to about 2.2% of our annual operating budget. We are over the 5% mark.
Right.
So it's, I was just putting it in some sort of format to help understand.
Yeah, what I'll do is I'll come by and talk with you. I was just looking at a stabilization and OPEB trust fund policy. And maybe you can, that was done, updated in 17, and you can kind of educate me on it.
Okay.
But thank you. And I will vote yes on this at this point in time.
thank you. Mr. Tropiano
Yes,
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you. And you'll get that list to Mr. Pigeon, right? Mr. Sullivan. Thank you.
Madam Chair, that's between myself and the Finance Committee.
Oh, excuse me. Thank you. And do you have another one, sir?
Yes, this is prior year bills and deficits. So, interestingly, GATRA ridership numbers kind of coincides with this. Our EMS department experienced 300 less calls than the prior year and transports. What does that mean? Less revenue. So all told, we had a $69,496.99 revenue deficit for the EMS. In other words, their expenses, they did not overexpend their budget by any stretch, but the revenue, since it's an offset receipt, didn't match it. It actually makes sense. Like I said, that they've reduced in the amount of call volume. It's gone back up. People were not calling for ambulances. They were afraid to go to hospitals during COVID, and their calls were, as I said, about 300 less. And just to show you the beforehand, we were trending up in revenues. 2019, it was 1.56 million. 2020, 1.6 million. And then 2021, 1.43 million, which you can see is a drastic shot down. And this looks to be, this is a variance that we won't see again. So far, the collections for July and August are higher than the previous year's July and August. So we're trending back in the right direction. And part of this, what happens is we raise this on the recap, and then you have to do it as basically a transfer of free cash for the deficit. And
So is that the only one, the EMS?
Correct.
And the figure again, please?
$69,496.99.
Thank you.
move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made by Tropiano, seconded by Titlebaum. Any further questions? I will call for a roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yeah.
Tropiano,
Yes,
myself, yes, 500. Thank you.
And you already did the PEG access one, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So the union contracts were still, that's the laborers, 4-persons union. So that one, I'm still waiting for a ratification vote, so I can't bring that forward until until that time.
Okay,
Article 6, this is we went over it when putting it on the warrant itself, so I don't know if there's any additional questions on it.
No, not for me.
no, sir. Is there a dollar amount attached to this? All right,
Yeah, this is the amend the Tremont Nail Factory Building and Grounds. And all we did was change the revolving fund, use of fund to the, by adding debt and repayments to the Community Preservation Fund.
okay, excellent, thank you.
Move to approve, move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made to recommend and a second by Tropiano and Titlebaum. Roll
Yeah.
call vote, Mr. Slavin.
I'm going to abstain on that, but I have a question about the actual dollar amount to
Yeah.
the CPA.
Okay, Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yes, I'm a little confused on specifically what we're looking to repay on this and the purpose.
Mr. Sullivan.
So, yeah, that would be Community Preservation had spent money on this location.
Right.
From the roof to the remediation of it. So
And the
we're
purchase
going
of
to
it,
be,
right?
so if this is kind of a safety valve, I guess you'd call it. If a master developer, they do a long-term leases is signed or a land disposition agreement signed with the selectmen and a master developer. Right now, there's a revolving fund that allows the use of the fund for any rents, fees, charges, or fundraising goes to operating costs of the buildings and grounds. Naturally, if there's a master developer, we don't want to pay for their operating costs of the buildings and grounds. That would be their obligation. So what you do is start paying back the Community Preservation Fund, since they've spent money on this along the way. For me, it makes sense because they've, especially the remediation, they've been part of from the original acquisition, which, that's something that would be up to the selectmen really on that portion. The reason for that is the acquisition was for historical purposes, and if it's kept in a historical nature, that has really been, that's sealed the deal, if you will. That's done the original intent. But the rest of the money's cleaning it up, other such items. I think that should be repaid to the Community Preservation Fund, or what in the future, instead of Community Preservation paying the debt for the remediation project, like in Article 7, this revolving account could pay that directly.
I agree with that. I just don't want to lose sight of that. It was purchased for historical reasons and lose control of that through the town because we don't have a historical preservation restriction on the property, correct?
I don't know. I know there's I don't know what that plaque on it says on the front of it. So
Yeah.
No restriction.
No restriction, I don't think.
Right. So that concerns me a little overall. And it's not that you can't do anything with it, but the purpose for which we purchased it just has not been stamped. But all right, go ahead. Let's just continue so people can go do what they got to do.
Okay, I'm sorry. Which way did you vote, sir?
Yeah, I'll vote in favor of that for now. We're not really
Thank you.
changing anything besides.
Okay, Slavin, you voted. Titlebaum, you voted. Muniz, you voted. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
and myself, yes, would be no. And so it's 4-1. Slavin, you're abstaining. Am I correct?
0-1.
Yep. Thank you.
Just by way of information, We've got just about $3 million into that building, that site. 1.4 million was the purchase. I think there was 240 that was put into the roof. So now you're up to 1.64. It looks like we're actually going to get the remediation done for the 1.3 million. So now you're at 2.94. There's still $200,000 hanging out there that hasn't been used, but that was appropriated by town meeting to do some structural work on the freight building. So the taxpayers are into this thing for about $3 million through the CPA. And I think it's incumbent upon us when we have, somebody to come in and make a go of it as a business venture, that community preservation should certainly be repaid for that. This is the taxpayers' money that went into it.
Okay, I'm going to ask that Joan Kinneberg be brought into the meeting, please. The purchase price was 1.7 for the record. Yeah, you're all set, Mr. Sullivan, right, with your presentation?
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
And good evening, Ms. Kinneberg. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I understand that you have some projects you'd like us to think about.
I do, and I would like to share my screen. So let me see if I can do that with you.
We can't, oh, okay, great. Wonderful.
And let me put it on. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we have 5 CPC articles to review this evening. The first 3 are financial articles, which are pretty straightforward. And number 4 and number 5 are projects. And I have a little bit of description on those for you. So we can move on to number 1. And this is the Tremont Nail Remediation Project. So this is the article to appropriate community preservation funds for the payment of the long-term and short-term debt, principal and interest payments on the $1.43 million bond that was appropriated at the 2018 fall town meeting. The total in this article is $195,069.55. And please note that recently Mr. Foster alerted us to the fact that the short-term debt principal payment is reduced by $2,000 from $37,000 to $35,000, which brings the sum of this article to $193,069.55. And that will be corrected on the town meeting floor.
Thank you. Are there any questions on this article? Then I'll accept a motion.
Moved. I mean,
Recommend.
recommend. Yeah.
Second,
Motion made and seconded to recommend. Mr. Titlebaum, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Tropiano,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yes,
my Slavin,
yes.
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you. Next.
Next is the Community Preservation Fund reserves. And this is to appropriate an additional $26,900 from undesignated funds to open space reserves and an additional $26,900 to affordable housing reserves. And the reason that we need to do this is because we estimated that the CPA revenue in FY 2021 would be $1 million. And lucky for us, it came in at $1,268,659. And so we need to increase the amount, the allocated amount, to both open space and affordable housing to meet the requirement, the 10% requirement by law.
The 2 figures again, please, Joan.
The 2 figures that we are increasing are $26,900 increase to both open space and $26,900 to affordable housing to the reserves.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Kinberg? I'll accept a motion.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made by Tropiano, seconded by Titlebaum. I'm going for a roll call vote. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Tropiano,
Yes.
Muniz,
Yes.
Slavin,
yes,
Whiteside, yes, 500. You're on a roll, Jane.
All right. The third one is to return unused funds from completed projects. And we completed 3 projects this year for a total of $1,106.49 to be returned to the Community Preservation Undesignated Fund account. And this is from the Oakdale Playground for $559.87, from the Lukey Playground project for $540.54, and from the girls softball field renovation for $6.08. So the total return to undesignated funds for the CPA account is $1,106.49.
Does anybody have any questions of Ms. Kinberg? I'll accept the motion.
Move to recommend.
Second.
Motion made by Tropiano, seconded by Titlebaum to recommend. I'm going to go for a roll call vote. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Tropiano,
Yep.
Muniz,
Yes.
Slavin,
yes,
myself, yes, 500.
CPC 4 is the Joseph W. Conway Senior Swift's Beach Playground Project. And this is to see if the town will vote to appropriate funds in the sum of $250,000 to fund the rehabilitation of the existing town-owned property known as the Joseph W. Conway Senior Swift's Beach Playground on Circle Drive. The applicant is Derek Sullivan, and the co-sponsor is Swift's Beach Association. The sponsoring organization is the town of Wareham because this is town-owned property, and the CPA category is open space recreation. The amount is to be determined by the town administrator, but the CPA grant funding is not to exceed $250,000 with the option to create the playground in phases. The total expenses are $260,000, and I'll show you those in just a minute. But the total income will come from the CPA grant in the amount of $250,000, and then donations and fundraising in the amount of $5,000 each to total the $260,000. This project is to rehabilitate the Swift's Beach Playground. The existing 30-year-old structures were taken down because they were unsafe. And so this project is going to include ADA compliant play equipment and surfacing. There will be a new pickleball court, and they will retop the basketball court and add new backboards and rims. And the Swift's Beach Improvement Association supports this project. A number of critical activities need to take place. Demolition has already taken place. There is a separate CPA grant available for an engineering plan in the amount of $11,000. As I mentioned, all of the playground fixtures will be replaced with new ADA compliant equipment and surfacing. There will be ADA compliant pathways. The basketball court will be retopped. There'll be a new pickleball court, and then there will be landscaping to spruce up the open field and create a crushed stone dust pathway to improve drainage. I mentioned the expenses, and these are the estimated expenses. So $217,500 for the playground equipment and surfacing, $32,500 for the basketball court and the pickleball court, and $10,000 for playground and landscaping. And it was noted in the application that maintenance will be the responsibility of the town of Wareham, the Swift's Beach Improvement Association, Wareham Corps, and community volunteers. And I'll just show you, this is the diagram that was submitted. When the application was first submitted, it was for $400,000, and it included both a play area and fitness equipment. When the amount was decreased to $250,000, the fitness equipment outside of the pink border was eliminated from this phase, and the structures, the play equipment inside the pink outline is what the playground will look like.
Excellent.
The program will start, hopefully, if it's approved, the spring of 2022 and be completed by summer of 2022. And the bidding and the construction process will be managed through the Department of Municipal Maintenance in the town of Wareham. Success factors include endorsements from Swift's Beach Improvement Association, Wareham Corps, the town of Wareham, and the residents of the Swiss Beach community, and of course, the town of Wareham at town meeting. The CPC voted 4-0-0 in favor of placing this article on the town meeting warrant on July 28th.
Thank you. Are there any questions of Ms. Kinneberg on this one? Okay.
Move, recommend.
I have my hand up.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Yeah, this has been a while in coming. I think it was 2015 or 2016 that town meeting passed the $11,000 for the engineering. So I'm glad this is finally getting off the ground, because we had, committed to I think doing this when we did pass the engineering. I think the expected result was, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fix this playground up. So that area of town is sort of remote enough. You're a couple of miles down the road where the playground is, that I think they deserve one there. And I fully support this.
Thank you. I haven't had a second to the motion.
Second.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to allow discussion.
I don't know if you can see us. Can you see us?
I can see you. Could
All right,
you-
I just want to point out that I played on that playground, the original one, many growing up in the summers, over and over and over again. And the equipment that was there at the time, by today's standard, would have been considered obsolete way back then. But it was fun for us. We had a good time on it, and I'm so glad to see this getting off the ground and going to be restored.
Thank you. Mr. Muniz, do you have any comments?
I just want to thank Open Space and the Community Preservation Committee for, supporting this. And I know that they look at things in a lot of detail, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin, do you have any comments?
No, I don't want to sleep in the garage tonight, so no comments.
Okay, thank you. I have, hearing no other comment or discussion, I'm now going to call for the vote. And it is a roll call vote. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yes.
Mr. Muniz?
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano?
Yes.
Mr. Slavin?
Yes.
Myself, yes, it is 5-0-0. Thank you. How about that? I think I don't know, how are the Red Sox doing? Are they doing as well as she's doing? Because she's batting 4 for 4.
Let's hope it's 5 for 5. So here's the fifth one.
Go ahead,
I just want to make a comment before we start on Wickets Island Pier restoration. I know that there was a question that was raised to the Finance Committee about the validity of this application because the date it was received by the Community Preservation Committee. And I just want to draw your attention to the Wareham website. And if you go to Boards, Community Preservation Committee, Applications, and you open the document entitled CPC Grant Process, you'll see the document on the left of your screen, which is in tiny writing, but I have blown up the part that is pertinent to this discussion. And what it says is there are due dates for consideration at both the fall and the spring town meeting. However, under exceptional circumstances that are time sensitive, an application can be recommended for consideration outside of these published dates. And the CPC does reserve the right to accept applications of a time-sensitive basis after the due date. The application for the Wickets Island Pier restoration was received in July. And it is time sensitive as the project is starting now. It's starting in the fall of 2021. So in order to be available for fall town meeting, the CPC decided to review the application after the due date. And so that is why you are seeing this application, and it does fall within the purview of CPC's ability to accept applications. So I hope that answers any questions that anyone might have. Wickets Island Pier restoration is to see if we are able to transfer from community preservation open space or any monies available in community preservation to Buzzards Bay Coalition the sum of $150,000 for the stone pier restoration and floating dock restoration at Wickets Island. The applicant is Catherine Garofoli, who's the director of the Onset Bay Center, and the sponsoring organization is Buzzards Bay Coalition. The category, the CPA category, is open space recreation, and the total grant request is $150,000. Expenses for this project are $462,407, and that is made up of restoration and consultants. The income is made up of private donations in the amount of $297,407, $15,000 in grants, and $150,000 in a CPA grant. The project to restore Wickets Island is to enhance the existing stone pier. The pier itself, and I'll show you pictures of it in a moment for those of you that haven't been out to the island, the pier is in pretty rough shape and it requires masonry work and resetting the large capstones. A deck is going to be added to the top of the stone pier to provide a stable walk area. There will be an aluminum gangway that connects to a float for safe boat access. And this will allow Buzzards Bay Coalition to host a variety of outdoor exploration and environmental programs. And more importantly, it increases Wareham's access to recreation experiences and provides access for our residents and our visitors with recreational permits to fish and shellfish at Wickets Island. And I think a critical component of this is that it allows for the docking of vessels. Number one, to maintain the island, because they have to bring equipment out to maintain the island. But it also allows for the docking of emergency vessels in the event of an emergency or a safety situation. It addresses a number of things in the Wareham Master Plan that are pointed out in the Open Space and Recreation Plan. So it increases the public's opportunity, and by the public, this is all ages, all income levels, and all interest levels, their opportunity to enjoy open space and recreational facilities. It improves the recreational facility itself, and it recognizes the need to preserve, protect, and enhance natural resources, not only for our current, but also for future use for residents and visitors. The application pointed to an open space and recreation survey, and I think everyone will agree that Onset Beach is one of the most popular sites in our community. And one of the most requested improvements for recreation in our community is improved access for boating, canoeing, and kayaking access. This also supports the Wareham economy, where tourism, including recreation on the water and the Onset Bay experience, is valuable to our visitors. This brings us to the final phase for Wickets Island enhancements to provide community access to the island for fishing, shellfishing, paddling, boating, and exploration.
Thank you.
This is a diagram of the island, and you can see this is where the current dock and the new dock will be situated. For those of you that haven't been out to the island, this is the stone structure, and you can see that it requires a lot of masonry work. This is a new staircase that was installed in August 2020, and this is the actual top of the stone pier, which requires quite a bit of work, and a new top will be installed on that to make a safe walking platform. This is what the structure will look like when it's done. So there will be masonry work done. This is the stairway, the aluminum stairway that comes down Wickets Island. It connects to the stone pier with the new top. This is the gangway, and it connects to a floating dock. And this is, you can see it from the side. So the stairway, the stone pier, the gangplank, and then the floating dock. People are familiar with BBC. I'm not going to go over their credentials, but they are an accredited land trust. They've worked with Wareham, a number of commissions and committees and trusts. They'll hire a professional marine contractor to conduct the improvements. And the conservation restriction that was filed with Plymouth Registry of Deeds already includes this project. Success factors are timely and successful project execution so that we can use it as of next year. It will provide safe access to the island for decades to come. And it will be measured by the ability to expand in the months and years ahead, both public use of Wickets Island as well as programming on the island by the Onset Bay Center. This project was presented to Community Preservation on July 28th and again on August 11th at a published public meeting. And the Community Preservation Committee voted 5-0-0 to submit this article.
Thank you. I'm gonna just tighten this up a little bit. I'm gonna accept a motion. Then I'm going to ask for discussion or questions. And then after you are done with your questions and discussions, then I will call for the vote. It's gotten confusing because I'm calling for the vote and then you're chatting in the middle of the vote, and even I'm losing track of where we are. So I would call for a motion first, please.
Motion to recommend.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to recommend. Now I will ask for discussion. Mr. Slavin?
Is it on all five or just one of them?
This one.
Okay.
We've recommended all the others.
Okay. Well, just make sure we're at. Everybody understands that the bathhouse project, I was involved right at the beginning before it came to the town, and I've been supporting it all along with the coalition. I do have to make a comment. I'm not sure it's going to be very well received. That I was disappointed when there was a lawsuit and the coalition basically backed away, which undermined the town's position at that time. And also, we've had several conservation issues where I felt that the coalition should have taken a neutral stance, which they didn't. With that said, I'll still vote in favor of this because I don't believe in punishing someone because I don't like what's happened. But because the project overall is extremely important to Onset and to the town of Wareham. But I really like it when someone is a true partner. And at times I felt the coalition has not been a true partner. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Muniz, do you have any questions or comments, sir?
Were there any other studies on the replacement of the dock being done in a different manner? Removal of the stone.
Joan, do you need to have Catherine Garofalo in the meeting so that she can answer? Or
Yes, I'm not qualified to answer that. So I
Okay.
would like to bring her in to answer any questions about whatever research was done.
Okay, thank you. Can we have Catherine Garofalo? She just disappeared. Atta girl. Hi, Catherine. How are you?
Hi, good evening. How are you?
Good. Did you understand Mr. Muniz's question? Or would you
I
like
did,
to-
and I appreciate that. The coalition recognizes that the visual that Wickets Island creates as you come into Onset is critically important, and that pier itself, the stones used are like the whole pier is over 100 years old. Mm-hmm. And it's our goal to maintain as much as we can of the aesthetics of that historic pier, which is why we want to repoint it. We did have several bids out and lots of different analysis of what we could do. And in an effort to protect the historical integrity and just the aesthetics of that pier, that is why we decided to go with the most historic preservation option of restoring that pier.
Thank you. Does that
So-
answer your question, Mr. Muniz?
What was, well, no, because I'm asking if you had other quotes for different type of construction of a new pier and docking system, and if it was substantially less, or was it approximately the same cost? And I believe, you know, from my own perspective, and this is just me, that, and anything that you put there would fit in with the area. I mean, so you know, I'm just looking at cost, and, you know, for me, I can't really get there easily. I know it's a great benefit to the coalition, and I'm more than willing to put it to town meeting floor for them to make the decision. But I just was wondering if we had other costs for a different alternative. That's all.
So ultimately, we did have different analysis on ways in which we could have a dock system out there. All of it still incorporated the stone pier, whether it was covering the entire structure or whether it was repointing the stones. The costs really did vary, but no matter what, if we were to do work out there, those stones would have to remain in place because the sheer cost of removing them completely from the island or moving them around the island, we likely wouldn't get permitted for.
Okay, I guess, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Muniz. Mr. Titlebaum, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do have a comment to Joan's, you know, explanation about the policy and the dates and so on and so forth. Indeed, I know that the town administrator has taken advantage of that provision to sort of late submit a thing or two, possibly to community preservation over the years. So this isn't the first time that you know, community preservation has waived the date. So that's in keeping with things that have been done before. Secondly, I've been a supporter of this project, you know, pretty close to its inception. I was initially a bit of a skeptic, but when I heard what they were going to do for fundraising, what they were going to bring to the table versus the size of the town's contribution, which was maybe, I don't know, between Wickets Island and the money that we put into the bathhouse, not even, I think, a third of the overall project cost. It seemed to me that this was a good way to leverage community preservation funding to get a lot of other people's money to help us out as well. And that's pretty much what's happened here. I have, you know, zero regrets about the acquisition of Wickets. I have zero regrets about putting the money into the bathhouse. The bathhouse is an amazing facility. I'm going to be very proud to and honored to be invited to the the official opening dedication ceremony on Friday. And I'm glad that you know, we've supported this project pretty much all along. I think it's an important thing for Onset. It's transformational in that it serves all kids. There is financial aid available for kids. It's not some slick yacht club, as some of the opponents tried to suggest that it was just, you know, a sop to the rich. We have kids in this town who still don't know how to swim in 3rd and 4th grade, and every single swimming class that can be offered beyond what's already at the YMCA is potentially life-saving. And I believe in the mission of what they're doing, and I'm happy to vote in support of this.
Thank you. Tropiano, do you have any questions or comments?
So initially, I voted against this, you might remember. And the reason why I voted against it, because I didn't have enough information at the time. And I was a little concerned about using CPA money without having some other contributions involved. And of course, now that I see the numbers, the town's contribution is considerably small compared to the price of the overall project. So that makes me feel better and makes me want to, you know, jump on board. And that's why I made the motion. I hadn't done it before because I didn't have any numbers to work with. And it's nice to have some numbers that will, justify that. I just, look, I don't believe that many of the town residents are gonna run out there to Wickets Island. I mean, it's been there a long time, and I haven't seen people out there forever. But I do understand that they are going to use it as part of their program, which they do now. And the program's terrific. It's for kids, and whoever. And if somebody does go out there and use it, it's okay with me. I do get the idea of being able to have emergency personnel be able to get out there when necessary as well. And so I am voting in favor of this project.
Wonderful. I have no comments or questions. Now that we have finished comments and questions portion of this, I am now going to call for the vote. And we've already had a motion and a second. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
Present.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
myself, yes, 4-0-1.
Thank you, everybody. I hope to see you all at the ribbon cutting on Friday from 4 to 6.
Thank you. Joan, I just want to say, from my perspective, that was possibly the best presentation
Oh, without a doubt.
in terms of everything that you brought to us tonight. I want to compliment you on learning how to screen share between yesterday and today. And
Thank you.
And I just want to say that you've really upped the game here, and I appreciate that.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to present. And thank you for your support.
You're welcome. Okay. We are now going to go to article number 16, and we're going to have Peter Dunlop is the petitioner, and he has asked that Holly Van Nest be able to answer questions that he might not be able to. So I'm going to ask that both Peter Dunlop and Holly Van Nest be brought into the meeting. Please.
Hey, you're eating my hand.
Do either of you have a face or not?
Getting there.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi there. Would you, Peter, you're mute. Please unmute yourself. Peter, you're still mute.
Look in the bottom left of your screen, Peter.
I'm here.
No, Peter Dunlop.
Oh, no.
There you go.
There you are.
Thought you wanted me to say something.
No.
It's my turn yet.
No. Mr. Dunlop, you are the first signatory on the petition. Could you explain Article 16 to this board, please?
That's a tough act we have to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that right.
Now, do you want me to start with the warrant itself, the motion, or just the explanation?
I'd like to hear the explanation of why you have brought this forward, sir.
Okay. Prior to April 22nd, 2019, town meeting articles were submitted, included by the Board of Selectmen to town meeting in one of three ways: by citizens petition with 10 registered voters, by the Board of Selectmen, and by a majority vote of a multiple body. We want to return to that.
Okay.
Do you want an explanation on that?
No.
Okay.
I will, let's see. I guess I will accept a motion and then we will go into discussion. And then after the discussion and questions are done, I will call for the vote. So may I have a motion, please?
Motion to accept.
Is there a second? It's to
Second.
recommend, right?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion made by Mr. Slavin and seconded by Mr. Muniz. We are now in the discussion portion of this. Mr. Slavin, do you have any questions?
No, it's just, we've gone for quite a while, and I've always felt that, articles that are brought forth, should go to the town meeting body to vote on. We're sitting here and depending on what our agendas are, et cetera, we're picking and choose what to go, which is kind of forcing people to go to citizens petition articles to make sure the article gets to town meeting. So we're having people having to do end arounds. Citizens petition articles are extremely difficult because they don't have the access to town council or to a lawyer to tell them when they do an article, whether it's okay. We've got 5 articles before us. I've spent a week now going through them, and I think this one here is the only one of the 5 that doesn't have some type of defect or some kind of problem with it that I can see. And it'd be up to town council if he wants to speak tonight or not. But I'm just not happy the way it's ended up. I just think as though we're having issues where we have agendas individually, and we can sit here and pick and choose what goes forward, even though it's supposed to be, what we think is best for the town. And I'm going to say that at this point in time that I think we've lost our way a little bit. So unfortunately, I think this is necessary at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tropiano?
Yeah, okay. So first off, I don't think we've done that very many times. I can think of a few times we did it to the Sewer Commission. I think we did it a few times to CPA. There's been a few times that we've done it over the course of time that have been on the board. Even back in 2000, we might have done it a couple of times. State law allows for that they allow us to have the warrant, to control the warrant. The reason why they do it, I think, is clear. One is that each individual board or group or person, they look at things in a tunnel vision based on what their board handles, and that's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's the way it was meant to be. They're supposed to handle and worry about what they do on their board, and I don't have any problem with that at all, because that's what they should do. Although the selectmen, they have to look at things differently. They have to look at a very broad picture. And sometimes things come forward that, problematic for one reason or another in our overall picture of the town. And, one of the reasons why the state legislature, I think, gave us this authority was they gave it to us because we're accountable to the people. Next election, they can tell you, hey, see you later, have a nice day. And somebody else can come in. Board members tend to stay around for a long, long time, as long as they, in fact, I know some that have been around over 20 years. I get what they're doing and I understand that, but I still understand the fact that we have to look at things much more broadly. And sometimes that requires us to make decisions. In fact, in a few cases, I can remember that there should have been some conversation with the town administrator prior to that maybe would have taken care of it anyway. And we had to sort of pull it anyhow because of that, for those reasons. And it didn't happen. And a lot of times, you got to, if they bring this stuff to us and we get it ahead of time, a lot of like our members alone, sometimes they go and they do what they want to do, but we don't get the information. They start us a citizen's petition or whatever, thinking that we're going to turn it down, which may not be the case. I mean, like I said, we haven't done it that many times that I know of. And I think it still has to remain like it is. That's why the legislature gave us the authority. That's why every town and city has the authority. And I think that's the way it should be. And I'm going to vote against it.
Thank you, Mr. Tropiano. Mr. Muniz, do you have comments or questions?
Well, I read the article and I'm going to support. I'm going to vote to, support it, and let's see what town meeting body wants to do and what the arguments are on town meeting floor. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yeah, first off, I do take issue with the explanation for this, that before 2019, these multiple member boards could submit articles and we would put them all in the warrant. That's not the case. What was in the charter previous to the change in 2019 was a single clause that said that the selectmen shall, quote, receive all articles from multi-member bodies, commissions, so on and so forth. That's where you file them. That did not set forth any requirement that is different from General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 10, that still says that the selectmen prepare the warrant and put the articles on. The reason that this was changed in 2019 was to clarify that, to remove all doubt from what we had been doing. And so that, you know, people wouldn't make this claim that receive means put on the warrant, because those are two entirely different things that would require entirely different language. So what happened in 2019 was the selectmen voted to put an article on the warrant to take out that language about the selectmen receiving the articles, because it was kind of superfluous. You have to turn it into our office or it's not going to make it on the warrant anyway. But this did not, you know, change how things had been done. And the reason I can say that is, since I've been on the board, as Patrick alluded to, there have been a few occasions when the board did turn down the articles. There was one from Community Preservation in 2014 that sought $100,000 to repair the smokestack at British Landing. Lo and behold, we found out that the smokestack at British Landing could no longer be considered historic, because the condo association had done some work previously on the smokestack and had effectively managed to remove its historic status. And so we didn't vote with that one on. There was a landlocked parcel that I think the Land Trust was interested in acquiring in Onset back in 2017, 2018, sometime around then. And we didn't put that on the warrant because there was nothing that would have guaranteed citizen access to that parcel. So why effectively would we want to buy land that people couldn't necessarily access? And this was land that was effectively protected anyway, because the owner couldn't even really get to it. They didn't seem to have any easements across the surrounding properties. So we declined that one. The one that I think probably stirred up the most commotion was the Housing Authority article. This was first presented, I think, in 2017. It came back in 2018. We turned it down both those times. I think the board made an economic decision that to take, you know, I think the initial request was for $500,000, and then it went up from there, whatever it was. The board didn't feel that paying, you know, $250,000 for 4 units was a good use of this money. You know, my personal feeling, and I think it was shared by others at the time, was that the best use of the CPA affordable housing reserves was to partner with private parties who could leverage state tax credits and get affordable housing built and do much more bang for the buck, much as what has happened out at Littleton Drive. So there was a good economic reason not to put that on. Once we did relent in 2019 and put it on, I haven't seen any action on it whatsoever. I don't know if an RFP has gone out. I don't know what the Housing Authority intends to do. I can tell you from what I do know about materials prices and labor prices in the construction industry, you're not going to be able to perform that article because nobody is going to be able to build 4 units. And the article calls specifically for 4 units, so we're stuck with that number. For $640,000 in this economy. I suppose if we go through a Great Depression or something and real estate falls off the edge, you know, that number might come back down to earth, but God, I hope that doesn't happen. So, you know, these aren't, for somehow or other, this has all been cast as an us versus them thing. And as Patrick alluded to, you know, we're responsible to everybody in town. I mean, I feel that I sit here and I represent the taxpayer. And I think it's important to try to safeguard the money that the taxpayers contribute, whether it's through the 3% CPA tax, whether it's when they do a filing at the Registry of Deeds and there's a surcharge, and when they pay their state income taxes and the state cuts a little bit out and gives it back to us. That's my concern. That's really my constituency. And, you know, I note in here, it says that, you know, multi-member bodies are an asset to the town, and that is certainly true. I mean, they do a lot of things that we certainly don't have time to do. And for the most part in this town, I think they do them well. But I'm going to vote against recommending this because I don't think that we've done it that often. I'm also concerned that I don't believe, and I'll ask the town administrator directly, but I don't believe that anybody discussed this with him and has looked at the potential budget ramifications. You know, what if every committee decides they want a tractor? Now you're going to have to go to capital planning. How are they going to handle it? Then it's got to go to the town administrator. I think it introduces too much uncertainty into the budgeting process. And that concerns me as well, because one of the things that we've been able to do by maintaining, fairly good controls over our finances is we have seen the benefits. We've seen the town go from, getting yelled at by Jerry Perry, the, director of local services for the Department of Revenue over the moves we've made. When Derek walks into these Mass Municipal Association annual meetings, he's like a rock star. Like half a DOR wants to come over and hug him. They use Wareham as an example of how you control spending, how you benefit from that, how you increase your bond rating, lower your interest costs, and all that sort of thing. So I'm concerned that if every committee decides, oh, we need a budget all of a sudden, you're going to throw the budget into chaos. So that's why I don't support this. It's not because I think that, I'm the grand poobah and I should decide these things. I look at it through the lens of what do I think is best for the taxpayers. And so that's why this legislature sets it up so the boards of selectmen control the warrants and put the articles on. And I think in this instance, the state guidance serves us well. And I would ask the town administrator if anybody discussed this with him before the petition was received.
If he chooses to answer.
No, this wasn't brought before me.
Why would it be?
Well, it impacts his budget. This is the guy we hold responsible for preparing a budget, for coming up with numbers, to control the finances and everything else. And this, as I said, this could wreak a substantial change on how that process is done. And I don't know.
No,
I don't know
Jim,
why this wouldn't have been discussed, but.
We're not going to be debating it. You've each got
Okay,
enough
I know. It just, we kind of got off track of what was.
Right, I'm
purpose of
trying to
this
keep us back on track,
like-
which is,
Okay, I'm done.
Tirade.
I'm all set.
okay. So there is no further discussion or comments or questions on this?
The Sox are up 2-0 right now.
Ah, what's the inning?
I haven't looked that up.
2-0 Red Sox.
Are they voting?
What inning?
Bottom of the first.
Bottom of the first.
Oh, my God. All right. I will now call for the vote. There is a motion to recommend and a second. Roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
No.
Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
No.
That answer for you.
yes, it will go on the warrant.
It's already on the warrant. This
I
is
mean,
the-
recommend. 3-2-0. Thank you both for being here this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this evening. We've invited the other citizen petitions for next week. And so I would ask that we move on to the town administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, with the warrants, I think we're good hearing from me.
You're all set then?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Liaison reports, Mr. Slavin? You're muted.
Sorry. What I've got is basically, I sent everybody notes last week. On Friday, the local government advisory council that I participate in with the lieutenant governor. As I mentioned, we were about $5 billion over for 2021 on the benchmark for revenue. The governor's basically assigned dollar amounts to a bunch of different areas all over the place, especially the schools are getting quite a bit of extra money for different projects. Unfortunately, again, Chapter 90, which is our road projects and stuff, and that's how we pay for them, not through our regular taxes to the town, got nothing extra. So we're still looking at 351 communities having to divide up $200 million, which has been that way for 10 years now, which is probably worth about $70 million in today's dollars. And just so everybody understands, again, when they complain to the town about roads, et cetera, which we get all the time, we're 10% lower this year coming in for 2022 than what we were the year before. Mr. Sullivan can corroborate that if he wants to. So we have less money this year than last year. And we are constantly behind by 2 to 5 years on projects because we have to bundle, monies per year in order to do anything. And it's really discouraging that after all this time that when they have $5 billion, they can't give us another 100 or $200 million for roads to try and get this thing resolved. Route 6 and 28, I went over across, I think, last 3 times in the last 4 days. I have to say that the state has gotten after Landers and the condition of the road as they start to actually finish pavement now. And you can see where the turnarounds are going to be and where they're widening the roads is really moving along at a nice clip. And it's going to be pretty nice setup overall. Just so everybody understands, the poles have been moved back. The original poles are still in place because both the phone company and the electric company are kind of dragging getting the actual lines moved to the new poles. And this is causing a delay there. So again, I hope everybody will appreciate and understand what's going on. And you can see how much land actually was basically taken by the existing businesses that was actually state land. The other thing that I sent notes out is the ARPA program, which we're all looking at for a lot of funds coming down for usage and stuff. Plymouth County wanted to hold off until the fall, which had been really November, about doing anything. They decided to go ahead. They put a program together. It officially went in place on Thursday. And there's a special portal for all the municipalities in Plymouth County to go ahead and apply for funds. What happens is you basically submit the project, they approve it, and then you get your funds. It's a little different than the CARES Act. There's a lot of money there. There's 3 major areas, and there's 3 second areas. And Derek and I spoke, I think it was yesterday, that we're a little confused right now that we were told that if you lost revenue during the COVID period, you can apply for that as well. But basically everybody with the property taxes and everything else overall has actually not shown a loss, but now we understand that there may be, and again, we haven't confirmed it, that they projected you were supposed to increase your revenues by 4.5%. So if you haven't increased your revenues, we think there's a possibility we could actually go after that as well. So there's, again, a substantial piece of money coming through. We need projects in place that fit the terms. The infrastructure thing is a mess right now because the bottom line is in Washington, D.C., they can't get their act together to get this thing done one way or the other. But there's a lot of money coming down. There's a lot of organizations all through the state are all basically putting themselves in place to get money. And the problem I'm seeing is that they're not working together. In the long term, that doesn't work. So hopefully they'll get this straightened out as well. And I'd like to thank Mr. Sullivan for getting the money's put aside for an assistant planner. I think he's been in place for 2 or 3 days, and I congratulate him and told him I'll try not to drive him crazy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Muniz, liaisons.
No, I'm good. How's that?
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum
All set.
and Mr. Tropiano. Okay, myself, no. We have a consent agenda for the approval of the minutes of September 7th, 2021.
So moved.
Motion made by Mr. Muniz. Is there a second? Motion made and seconded. I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Slavin,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
myself, yes, 400. Approval of the executive minutes of September 14th, executive session minutes of September 14th, 2021,
So moved
with a hold.
with a hold. How's that?
Yeah, moving a hold. Mr. Slavin, that's your second?
Yeah, I just want to make sure, was I here on the 7th and the 14th?
You can second it.
I know I did, but I just thought I
Yes,
may
you were
not,
here on the 14th.
but not the 7th.
I don't believe you were here on the 7th.
we'll need to go back and vote on the 7th. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's finish this vote first, please.
Okay,
So we have a motion to approve and hold. Roll call vote, Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Slavin,
yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
myself, yes, 400. Now go back. Mr. Let's see, who made the motion? Mr. Muniz, you made the motion to approve. Could
I
you,
have, Mr. Slavin removes his second.
thank you. Do you remove your,
I'll remove my motion.
okay, so now do it, now move it again, please.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of, what was it, the 7th?
September 7th. Yeah.
7th, 2021.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Roll call vote, Muniz,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Slavin, abstain,
Abstain.
and myself, yes, so 301. We have a bill for town council, is that correct?
Should have.
Do you want to make a motion to approve it?
Make a motion to approve the payment to Attorney Richard Bowen.
Thank you. Is there a second to that motion?
Second,
Motion made and seconded. I will go for a roll call vote. Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
and myself, yes, so it's 400. That is taken care of. Now, we are going to go into executive session and we are going to adjourn from the executive session. So what I would ask to have done now is to move to go into the executive session. We will take a 5-minute break so that WCTV can clear the attendees.